Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Dr. Roxie Mooney, author of a brand new book coming out this October called How Health Innovators Maximize Market Success. Dr. Roxie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we are happy to have you. Are you ready to get started?
I am. Let's do it.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
So I think the advice that I would give is to start with a business goal. I think today, writing a book is really a business strategy. And so I would suggest for everyone to start with a business goal. And then I think that really drives what type of book you want to write and what you're going to do with it.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I think it's probably just the mental barrier that the author has, especially for a first-time author. I think today it's really easy to get published. There's so many different publishers for the small entrepreneur like myself, working with people like you. You don't have to go to the big publishers like before. I think it's more affordable than ever, and you can actually get to market with a book quicker than you used to. So I think that there's a lot of advantages and opportunities to get a book published today.
Well, and you bring up a great point, because we were talking before the show and you mentioned that you are utilizing the publisher, and it just takes out a lot of the guesswork with it. Taking care of the editing, the formatting, working with you on the book cover design, really takes a lot of stress out of that side of things.
Yeah, I think that we were able to publish a book from the original conversation and concept within about a 4-month period, and that's unheard of. Let's say 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, that is very true. At this point, you could do a book as soon as a month, 3 months, to even 4 months. Just amazing how much quicker it is now, especially working with people who are familiar with that process.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you are planning to use in your book launch that you feel is going to work well.
So actually, I would say two things, if you don't mind. So
Sure.
The first thing that comes to mind is almost using the book as a business card. So anybody that's in my sales pipeline or that I want to do business with, sending them a copy of the book, including my business card, there's no better credibility piece. And, I think that certainly could be a tipping point for those who have been on the fence on whether they're going to hire me for my services or not. And the other thing that comes to mind is I have a conference scheduled for next month that I'm going to be speaking at, and they've offered to do a book signing. And so I think being able to coordinate a book signing is a great marketing opportunity. So I'll be able to, promote the book myself, really in ultimately my services in front of thousands of people within that one activity, which is great. And they're all my target audience.
Well, that's the biggest thing, too, is making sure you're marketing to that target audience, because it's critical. And as you mentioned, having that book, it really does take your business to the next level. I remember with my public speaking, when I released my second book, Motivation 101, we were able to change our fees from $500 a speech to over $3,000. And it's mainly just by having that book and by having that best-selling author title to go next to it, because it really does give you that credibility, especially in your target market.
Yeah, Yep, absolutely. And, for me, one of the biggest drivers is having a doctorate gives you a lot of credibility.
Yep.
And I've been a published author in peer-reviewed journals before, but my target market doesn't necessarily get that. And so it was really important for me to, even with all that credentialing, to invest in publishing a book that my target audience can relate to.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
So, Paul, I think this might be the most difficult question that you could have possibly asked me, because for me, my books are like my babies. I love them, and I'm a voracious reader, and it's so hard to pick one. But if I had to, if you were twisting my arm, I would say Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. It was really a game changer for me, both in my personal and professional relationships, and really understanding where I, as a person, end and begin, and where someone else ends and begins, and how to make sure that I'm not so busy living in someone else's yard that I kind of forget to take ownership and responsibility for my own life.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
So my favorite quote would probably be, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed." And the reason that is such a core proverb and fundamental to my life and to me is because you can't do anything in this life together. And by yourself. And I've learned that when I surround myself with people that are able to give me good counsel, that and we do things together in a collaborative way, that I'm more successful than doing anything that I could have accomplished on my own.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Roxie, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
So the first way that people can get a hold of me would be drroxie.com, DRROXIE. And the second way would be the agency that we own, legacy-dna.com, LEGACY-DNA.com.
Dr. Roxie, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.